Our last video is on TextAid, and TextAid can be found by going to Resources and then TextAid. When you click on it, it opens in a new window. In the lower left, you will see 3 dots in most cases. When you click on those dots, the remainder of your toolbar will show. First, to add your extension to your browser, click on Web Reading, click on Desktop or Mobile. I'm in Chrome, so I would click on Chrome, click on the link, click on Add Chrome, click on Add Extension, and it has been added. You will need to pin it to your toolbar by clicking on the push pin. TextAid has many uses. First off, you have a library, and in the library you can create folders, you can upload documents, you can download the document or take it to your G Drive or to your OneDrive. Any of those things are possible. I'm going to open up a document. First off, this is an older document, but it's giving you an image and some things that you can read. If I put this in plain text, notice that my image did appear, but notice this one moved over to the left. It was no longer over here on the right because it's aligning them. Everything's left justified, and if there hadn't been alt text on my images, they would be gone. Now, I can change pages with the up or the down arrow, the left or the right arrow, by clicking on thumbnails or headings. Notice on the left I have annotations and highlighter. Now I'm going to open a second document. This case, it is an EPUB. Notice on the left I only have a highlighter. Depending on the type document will depend on what tools that you have. In EPUBs, we only have highlighting. However, in PDFs, we have both annotations and a highlighter. I'm going to turn off these pages right here. And let's look at annotations. With annotations, I can type in text. And if this was a document I had gotten from a library database and uploaded, I might want to put the citation here with a copy paste from the library database. I can listen to it. I can also increase or decrease the font. Now, as I go down, I may want to say that this first sentence is important. So I want to put a box around it. Let's change to green and use a marker. When I use a marker, it looks like I've highlighted that, but I'm actually just creating a colored box. So you need to be aware of that. You do have sticky notes, and with the sticky note, wherever you click, you can choose what color you want that sticky note to be. Since I marked this in green, I'm going to say important. I can drag that down closer to it if I want to. I can write with my mouse, and as you can see, I don't write very well, but you do have that ability. If I want to highlight something and click listen, if I try to highlight it, notice I'm putting a line through it. So I've either got to leave annotations to get to my listen button, or I can use listen right here, which is it looks like a capital I. Then I can highlight something and click listen.
Move through your text at 5-second increments.
The next thing I want to look at is my settings. I have reading, which includes my reading speed, and you can see we see the specific speed. We can set a default voice and a voice of choice. We can put pauses between our words, and we can play a sample. Another thing we can set is our text. We can choose our text color and our background color. We can also choose our various font sizes and fonts. The text spacing that we discussed in Doc Reader is also present. So we make our choices and move on to our next setting, which is our highlighting. In highlighting, I can choose how I want this. For this particular one, I'm going to choose that I want an underline. So when I go back, I'm going to read just a little bit of another sentence so you can see this.
The enlarged text tool shows the magnified text at.
Notice it was a blue word with an underlining. Our last setting is the reading area. We can do a mouse selection, which is basically highlighting some and having it read. We can do text selection, which is basically reading a paragraph, or from the pointer to the end of the page. Again, these are pages, so you want to say yes, automatically change, and continue reading if you don't want to manually change the pages. Other tools that we have include a page mask. We've talked about this before. A reading ruler, same thing. We also have a calculator. Now, it is a basic calculator.
2 times 3 equals 2 times 3 equals 6.
So you can see you can do some basic calculations. Let's look at the EPUB. In the EPUB, I only have a highlighter. And we talked about how the highlighter works when we were in DocReader. It works the same way. I'm going to turn on my borders, scroll down a little bit, highlight a sentence, and choose my color. Same thing we did before. Same collection we had before, except when I collect this, and I will say the entire document, I get an editable page, whereas in DocReader it was PDF. The first thing I do is take off all this information that's in front of it, and I put in the word notes or notes from, depending, and I'm going to take the EPUB off the end. I can add in information here. When I'm adding in information, either use bold or italics to know what was a statement from the book that you might be quoting, or the document that you might be quoting, or if it's your own information. And you can see there, it's obvious which one is my own information and which one came from the book. This helps you when you are writing a paper, because now you have what was yours, what was a quote, and if you want to, you could go back and copy the citation and paste it right here so you have everything you need as you're starting your paper. Now, if you'll notice, it still says untitled text, so we need to save this. When I save, I can save it to my library or a PDF or a Word document. Clicking save is going to automatically take it to your library. I don't want the information past notes, so I take that off, and I decide what folder I want it in. And if I had multiple folders here, I could choose them. And yes, you can have folders inside folders. When I click save, two things happen. One, we get this pop-in that says that it has been saved. And secondly, the name we gave it is now on the tab. New text. New text is exactly what it says it is. It is a plain text document. You do have some controls, and you can see under the ... that you have some other ones. But the thing that I like the most about this is the dictation. When I click on dictation, I can do sentence by sentence dictation. I'm going to record 3 sentences. I click start. When I get to the end of the sentence, I'm going to click inside the box and hit my enter or return key. There are 2 foxes playing outside my window! Exclamation point. They are running, comma, jumping, comma, and acting like fools, period. Why are they doing that? Question mark. All right, I'm going to make this larger, and we can see that we have our ending punctuation. We also have our commas, but what we don't have is the beginning letter as a capital. So you do want to change those. You have to be careful and always swipe from left to right to do this replacement, because if you swipe off the edge of your block, then it will cancel out the dictation. After I've made the changes, I say insert text. Notice it comes across in paragraph form, and notice that I was talking in my normal voice, saying what I wanted to say. Dictation is not going to put the grammar in unless you tell it. But if you try saying capital T, there are, then it's going to write out capital T, there are. So you can't get the capitals at the beginning of the sentence, but you can get your other punctuation. Notice you have lots of other tools. Now don't panic. Writing assistance is not what you think it is. When I turn on writing assistance, I can have letters, words, or sentences, or all of the above, read out when I'm typing. I can have it sounded out, or I can have it spelled out. That is my choice. The other thing I can use is word prediction. And if I say yes, then I have to say how long of a delay before it puts up the prediction. This depends on your internet bandwidth. I have satellite internet, so I want to use short. However, when I visit my daughter who has fiber internet, I would choose long, which is about the same amount of time as short is on satellite. So it depends. The way this works is I'm going to start writing a sentence. And notice when I paused, it then gave me different things that I could choose. I can hear it read.
Time.
And we heard that read. We could choose whatever we wanted to write there and keep going. I did turn off the rest of the writing assistance. Now I'm turning off word prediction. The next thing we have down here is translate. With translate, I choose what language I want it to be translated into, and I'm going to say Canadian French. Now, when you translate, you're using Google Translate, so your sentence structure may be incorrect in the language that you're translating to. It's now in Canadian French, and I'm just going to highlight this first sentence and say, listen.
Il y a deux renards qui jouent devant ma fenêtre.
And we heard it read in French. I did have the reading speed set at 95%, which might be a little bit slow. Now, if I wanted a different voice, I could choose a different voice, and I can also revert back to my original information. Another thing that can be done is to convert pictures that have verbiage on them into editable text. To do this, the first thing we're going to do is click on Image to Text. We have to choose our file. Choose where we want it. Since I don't have any other folders, I'll have to use the root folder level. However, if I did have other folders, I could do that. The trick is right here. You do want to say save as editable text. I'm going to pull this up just a little bit, and as I scroll, I have to enter a file name. So I'm going to call this Sault and click Start. It tells me to go to my library, so I'm going to do that. Here's my file. Here's my original file. Notice that the typed writing came over very nicely. However, if you are using handwriting, it might not be quite so good. But the whole thing is, students like to take pictures of notes. So this gives them a way to make it editable. They may want to add information to it, and so on down. Now let's talk about some of the other things that we can do. This is a Google Doc, and if you have a Word Online document, it works the same way. If you click on the little speaker for your extension pops up. You can listen to this sentence.
This is map of the U.S. form the 1800s.
And one of the things that I heard was, this is map of the U.S. form the 1800s. Well, it needs to be, this is a map of the U.S. instead of form, we want from. So by listening to their papers, students can correct things like typos, left out words, anything like this that they'll catch by hearing. Another thing they can do is, this is an image and it has a whole bunch of words on it. I'm going to use my snapshot tool, and I'm going to draw a box around Montana.
Montana.
And you see that it read it out. Now, think about all those diagrams, maybe maps in your history class, or anatomy in your anatomy and physiology class. All those things have words written on them, and you can have that read out using the extension. With the extension, you can set your colors, just like we could before. Notice that you can read from the beginning of the document or from the cursor. You can set your reading speed. You can choose which voice you want to use. Remember, the voice needs to match the language of the document. And you have writing assistance. Now, writing assistance here only spells out or sounds out the letters, not the whole words. Again, that's helping you type correctly. The other thing we can do is we can read web pages. Or if there is text on an image there, I can OCR that. Let's see what we can get here.
Come into our open house.
And you see it OCR'd what was on the sign. Notice also that it did kind of predict this was a U, even though part of that U is cut off. I hope you will encourage your students to use many of the different things they can with TextAid, with one of the most powerful being the ability to proof listen to their documents. And when they proof listen to their documents, it makes interactions with the tutor or the instructor more positive, because the instructor or tutor are not going through and marking up the document with all the left out words and the typos and everything else, the student going back and fixing those and then coming back. Instead, their first interaction is, I see you don't have very much transition between this first paragraph and this second paragraph. What could you say that would help you move from one idea to the next idea without just short chopping? Or, this is a sentence fragment. Let me explain what a fragment is and what we need to do to fix it. You can go into those type things in a more positive way, which makes your students feel better about things. I hope you will try this, and if you have questions, as always, please don't hesitate to reach out and contact me.